Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in the last video we have seen how basically we can read a CSV file as a data frame, and then we can use this data frame to create a delta table, and then I have shown you how exactly you can delete the delta table as well, okay, or drop an delta table as well. So in this video I'm gonna show you how you can check the entire history of the delta table or the different type of properties in the data table. Okay, so let me create the delta table again quickly, and this time the only difference will be like I will be creating the delta table only for few sample records, not for full. Like this data frame has multiple records, so I'll take few initial ones and then I'll try to create the data frame or the delta table. Okay, so let's say limit, let's say 30, and I'll save it as a part of df1. Okay, and let's run it. So now we have one more data frame which has 30 records in it. Now using this data frame only, what I will do, I'll create a delta table. Okay, so to create a delta table I can simply use write function, okay, with the format delta, and since the table is not there I need to save this table, okay, with some name. Let's again name it as payment and investment. Try to run it, and your delta table is ready. And if you run it, let's check how many number of rows we have in this delta table. So if you okay, sorry, yeah, so if you check, we have 30 records in it, and this delta table is created. Now let's talk about the history of delta table. Okay, so let me again create it because this one is the different one. Yeah, let's create a notebook, delta table history. Since we are going to check the history, obviously we are talking about some existing delta table. Okay, and when we are talking about existing delta table, we should be knowing the path. So to check the path, you can go to the delta table. This one you have details. Generally you know where exactly you are saving the delta table, but just for this demo purpose we are using dbfs, and that's the reason I'm using that path. Okay, so let's say delta table location, something like that, and then the next cell I'll use one function of delta table called for path. So first of all, to use that I need to import delta table, delta dot tables, import star, and then I will be using delta table for, sorry, for path, if I'm correct, yeah, for path, and in this path we need to pass this value, not as a string, my bad, and we need to specify spark as well as a part of parameter. It will give me an object of delta table. Okay, basically this object contains all the history. So if you run this, it should work. Delta table location is not defined. Okay, I didn't run it. Let's run it now. Let's see. Yeah, so now you have this object, and using this object you can call one function history. Okay, this history will give you a data frame with the entire history. Let's try to print it in a more proper way so that we can see it. So I can use display again since it's a delta table data frame, and you can see the records here properly. And if you scroll a little bit here this side, you will see the number of record inserted in it. Let me make it a little bit, yeah. So if you see, you have read one file. Out in the one file you have read basically 30 records, the number of bytes is 4000, and you can see other details also. Yeah, let me go up. Yes. So if you see, you have other details here, like what is the user ID, when it is done, what is the command used, which notebook you have used, which cluster ID you have used, and all those other details. Okay. Now, let's say this data table has some more history. So to create a history, what I will do, I'll create one more data frame, let's say data frame 2, and this time I'll read, let's say 60 records. I'll run it. Now we have another data frame with df2, and I want to read this data frame to, let's say, override this table. Okay, so now how we need to override this table basically, let's quickly show you. Okay, so you can use df2 dot write format delta. Okay, and then mm, format dot delta and maybe the path basically. So after delta you can, first you need to specify like in which mode you wanted to write, right? So let's say I wanted to overwrite. Okay, there are different modes available, you can check over there. I'll create one more video on the different modes, and then you need to save this in this specific location. Okay, I'll just copy this location because we need it, and yeah, and that's it. Let's run it. Now what it will do, it will override this table. Okay, this payment and investment. So if you run this now, earlier you have 30 records. Now let's see how many records you have. Now you have 60 records because you have overwritten this table. Now go to Deltatable history and I'll again run the same command to see the history of it. Yeah, earlier it was just one version, 0. Now you have two versions. Think, man, sorry. Yeah, so this is the 0th version, right? Where there is some value. Yeah, there you were reading 30 records and this is the new value where you are reading 60 records. So this is how it is maintaining the records, right? Okay, and this is how basically history maintained by the delta table. Now you can see this history over here as well. You can simply go to the Hive meta store and select your database and select the table. Let's say this is the table. You can click over here and you'll see some basic details. Okay, like data minimum version, minimum writer version, right? So these are the table properties, delta table properties. So here also you'll get these kind of information as well as the history which I have shown you there. This is also mentioned here as well. So this is how you can verify the history as well as you can update your delta table or overwrite your table, right? So I hope this video will help you. Thank you. Thanks a lot.